Hey friends, today we're going to break down a fun and thrilling new movie released in 2025. This latest film is a mix of sports and action genres. It holds an impressive IMDb rating of 8, which says a lot about its appeal. So without wasting any more time, let's dive straight into the storyline.
You're a superhero.
In the opening scenes, we are introduced to our hero, Brad Pitt, playing the role of Sony. Sony is passionate about racing and loves driving fast cars. He finds himself in a competitive game where he must race and do whatever it takes to secure a win for his team. As the race kicks off, other competitors try to block him, but Sony skillfully overtakes them. Only one rival remains, and Sony pushes hard to defeat him and get ahead. He keeps racing consistently, fun is, earning points for his team. Thanks to his efforts, his team wins the match. However, Sony is not someone who cares about fame or recognition. He races purely for the thrill of it. He refuses to even accept the trophy and quietly says goodbye to his friends. Afterward, he visits a shop where a poster catches his eye. It mentions a vacancy for a driver for an event taking place in Mexico's desert. He isn't familiar with the area and starts to wonder about it. Suddenly, his old friend Ruben shows up. They're meeting after a long time, and Ruben tells him that he owns a Formula One team. But his team is performing poorly, and he's in desperate need of a skilled driver. He reminds Sony that he was once a top F1 racer, and pleads with him to join his team and help them win. The team hasn't even qualified in the top 10 recently, and if things don't turn around, Ruben could lose everything. Sony tells him he'll consider it. Meanwhile, in another location, we meet JP, a current driver for Ruben's team. He's working with a designer named Kat, who is responsible for the car's performance and handling. Kat checks in with JP to see if he's facing any issues. JP points out several mechanical problems, which Kat starts working on to fix. Soon, Sony arrives to meet the team, surprising many who don't recognize him. But Ruben is hopeful now. He believes Sony's return could turn things around. Sony gets into the car, and despite being used to older F1 models, he quickly adapts to the modern one. While practicing, Sony discovers a serious issue. The car becomes unstable at high speeds. He informs Kat, who promises to address the problem. Their racing team is called Apex GP, and JP is feeling frustrated. He confides in his mother about the team's struggles and his own insecurity about a new competitor, Sony. She advises him to focus on his own performance. As the major race approaches, each team prepares with 2 drivers, Driver 1 and Driver 2, both playing key roles in their team's outcome. During a press conference, JP mocks Sony for being old. Reporters press Sony about a past accident that caused his long absence from racing. This makes Sony uncomfortable, and he leaves, spending the night reflecting on that traumatic incident, a crash that left him seriously injured and forced him to retire. The next morning, JP apologizes for his behavior. Sony brushes it off and focuses on training. A race is scheduled at Silverstone, lasting 3 days. Practice on Friday, qualifying on Saturday, and the championship on Sunday. The better your qualifying time, the better your starting position on the track. During a meeting with investor Peter, Ruben reveals that most investors have left, but Peter remains hopeful and supportive. The next race begins. Sony starts from the back but tries to catch up. Drivers bump into each other, trying to gain position. Strategy plays a crucial role here. Sony and JP both change car parts and tires, but in doing so, they lose precious seconds. Despite these delays, they make it to the front. However, tension rises when both drivers compete against each other, causing friction and endangering their own team. Eventually, their cars collide and they crash out. JP blames Sony, saying as the second driver, he should have let him pass. The team owner scolds Sony for not following instructions. Later, in the garage, Sony cools off and is joined by Kat. Ruben confronts him too, blaming him for the mess. Sony reassures Ruben and asks if Kat is married or divorced. Wayne replies that it's not relevant. Sony and Kat then meet again while she's designing car wings. She brings him to a coffee shop to talk. He suggests redesigning the car for better performance, but Kat insists that changes require teamwork and approval. She walks away, saying she'll believe in him only after the next race. Both Sony and JP resume intense practice. JP uses simulations, while Sony keeps running laps. The team develops a new race plan. This time, they must complete 52 laps. The race begins. Both drivers perform well. Sony demands soft tires for speed, though they wear out faster. The team initially refuses, but later agrees. As a result, they manage to finish in the top 10 during qualifying, a big win that earns them extra points. That night, Sony visits Kat, who reveals that her marriage failed after her husband rejected her car designs. Now she wants to prove herself. Second qualifying begins. Both JP and Sony perform well, and the team rises to 4th place. But during the race, JP's car crashes and catches fire. Sony rushes to save him. JP's mother blames Sony, but he clarifies that he had warned JP to slow down. Still, he apologizes. With JP injured, the team needs a backup plan. Sony assures everyone they can still win if they improve their coordination. He continues qualifying the team in the top 9. Eventually, JP recovers and returns to racing. However, in another race, JP knocks Sony off the track. Sony warns him to stop putting himself above the team. Kat sees them fighting and later invites them to make peace. They spend time together and discuss their goals. Sony and Kat become closer and share a romantic moment. Sony opens up about his past. He was once on track to become a world champion before an accident crushed his dreams. But he still believes in his potential. Later, Ruben warns that the car may be confiscated. Someone has falsely accused them of cheating. Sony suspects it's Peter. During the third qualifying, Sony crashes again. He's hospitalized, and Ruben tells him not to race anymore. Sony insists he's needed. Peter later offers Sony a place on his team. Sony says he'll think about it. JP confesses to his mother that the crash was his fault, not Sony's. On the final race day, Sony surprises everyone by returning to Apex GP. Despite concerns, Ruben agrees to let him race. They also discover Peter was behind the sabotage. The championship race begins. JP and Sony work as a team, blocking opponents, clearing paths, and swapping tires strategically. Their coordination helps the team rise to the front. During the final stretch, JP's car gets hit and he's out. Sony races ahead like in his prime, soaring past competitors. Apex GP wins the championship, their first major win after years of struggling. While everyone celebrates, Sony slips away quietly. Kat finds him and they kiss. He says goodbye, promising they'll meet again. Days later, he's in the Mexican desert, signing up for another wild race. And that's how this action-packed sports movie comes to an end. We hope you enjoyed our breakdown. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Until next time, stay happy and take care.
You're a superhero.